The world has shifted. Brands are demanding more and more today than they were yesterday. It's not about the campaign anymore. And so it's about every experience of the brand.
Welcome to We Built This Brand, where we pull back the curtain on the people, the ideas, and the sometimes challenging process of building something that matters. Today, I'm joined by Diane Quenomoen, or DQ for short, the head of design at Colle McVoy, a creative agency based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, DQ has been passionate about design and marketing for about as long as she can remember, and her work on the Lazy Boy rebrand really speaks to that lifelong passion. In this episode, we're going to dive deep into that campaign and what it took to help bring a century-old company back into the spotlight and to update their identity. From the colors, to the fonts, to the Recliner, and even the smells. Yes, really, the smells. We're talking about it all on today's episode. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with DQ of Colle McVoy. Alrighty, well, DQ, welcome to We Built This Brand. It's great to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Typically, how I like to get these interviews started is just by getting to know you a little bit. So, would love to know a little bit about your background and how you made your way to Colle McVoy.
Whew. It's a long journey, but I like to say it simply in simple terms of like what sparked me to want to do this. I was like a little nerd as a kid. And I remember like I loved making people feel something, like making them get excited about an event. And so I like birthday parties. I had to do my own invites. I had to dress the table. Like, what was the experience? How were people feeling when they were with me? Do they want to stay even longer? Like that was like the test, right? Like, if the party ends at 5, but it's still 7 and now they're looking to spend the night, like a sleepover party. I was like, mission accomplished. And I didn't know what the hell or how the hell that would transform in the real world, but eventually started learning about design. And, what I think really excited me once I, went to school for it, I went to the College of Visual Arts, RIP, in St. Paul, great school, and took an internship at a place called Olson, which was grand in its heyday. Realized it's not just about aesthetics. It's really also about the experience, right? And how brands behave and how we, involve people into the interactions and what are those outcomes for them and how do we keep them coming back? And I was like, this is just like the party. This is just like DQ's birthday party at like 5 years old. Like we're just building experiences that make people feel welcome and want to come back for more. So it kept me excited. I was really interested in just the branding aspect of things, but wound up in advertising and traditional comms, which was unique and a little confusing for me at first. But when I realized that it can become kind of a special ingredient for the traditional means of advertising, that a design formula and thinking can provide, I think, something really unexpected to those ways of operating, I got excited. So I went over to Colle McVoy and started up with a team building out a really niche design offering there that's really taken off and I think been our secret ingredient. And so we're building and shaping that daily and it's grown into some really great things. And I think some of our most recent work is a testament to that thinking. So yeah, hopefully that was kind of the short answer. I could talk for days about it because I love it that much. But that's really how it started. Make people feel something.
That is so cool. I mean, it's always interesting how like our childhood roots kind of play into our future careers, or at least we hope they do, right? Like not everybody gets that opportunity.
Or recognize, right, like how that could translate into a way of living. And I was lucky enough to like somehow recognize it, and many people shaped that recognition, but I got lucky.
Yeah, very, very fortunate in that regard. It's always really fascinating. I have 2 young kids at home, and my daughter is very much in this phase of like, oh, we're going to play this. And she just comes up with like all the little details and all the little things that she wants to do and how she wants me to like be in her world. And I feel like that's probably a sign she'll end up that way one day too, maybe. But that's awesome. So with Colle McVoy, you've been there for how long now?
A long time. Traditionally, I think anyone in advertising, it's like 3-year stints, right? And you never seem to retire in the industry. But I've been able to stay for about 10 years there and hoping for more. It's just enabled me to, I think, grow. They've trusted me. They've let me fail. And they're good people. They have a rule of no assholes and they stick to it.
Hey, that's important, I think.
Yeah, it's really important.
Especially in the creative space. Like it's so easy to want to just shut down ideas or go a certain direction.
Got to have the space. You got to enable it. So I feel very lucky that I've been in a place where I could grow and evolve and have that space. So I'm thankful.
As you've done work at Colle McVoy, I know one of the things I was excited to talk to you about today is the Lazy Boy campaign and everything that happened there, how that got started. Like you said, you have a rule of no assholes. I think that leans itself to being another way of saying, like, we value the customer too, because there's a lot you could be like, oh, I'm a know-it-all and I'm going to come in and be the expert and, shove out your marketing team and push out these years of tradition and all this stuff that your company has to bring our vision for what you should be. So how did that get started? How did that relationship get started?
Relationships, I love that you bring that up. It's honestly one of my key themes to success. And internally, like you just heard, my love for the space that I work in and the people I work with, it matters just as much externally, right? The clients that we decide to take on, and from their point of view too, like I hope that obviously they saw the relationship first. And I think I've heard directly from them, that our collaboration seemed to spark right away. Like we trusted one another, we enjoyed one another's presence, but more importantly, I think felt comfortable with each other, which was key, right? And so it enabled me to push them when they wanted to be pushed. And it allowed for them to come directly to me and not wait for big meetings and big ta-da, right? Like, no, like they would just call me and be like, I'm questioning this. I'm a little nervous or, whatever it might have been. And we talked through it. We talked through it together and that builds trust. And I think without any of those conversations, had they not been had, we would not have gotten to the place we did together. I say together because it really was a combined effort. It wasn't just me coming to them and proclaiming where we should go. It really was all of us manifesting it together and believing together. So it was a great ride.
What was the problem when you got started on the campaign? What do they say that sparked this rebrand?
They came to us, 100 years is coming up. It's a big milestone for them, and for any brand to last as long as they have is massive. And they started reflecting on just culture and where people are at today and how does that reflect in their brand ethos and what they stand for, right? And realizing that, comfort is a big force right now. People need it more than ever, I think, right? And they're seeking for those moments of respite. And what's funny is Lazy Boy was like, we offer comfort. And then some people are like, no, I think you've actually lost sight. I think you've lost your soul and really that North Star that you thought you had and originally had, right? Of like being that beacon of comfort. They fell into like cliches, right? Of like style over comfort, category conventions. You look at their mark itself and their brand experience, and it just felt very sterile. They lost really the soul, right? And so they came to us looking for it again, right? Like help us unearth what I think mattered most to our brand and what was always been embedded, in everything we make, say, and do from the beginning. We just lost touch of it. Like help us dust that off. And so we did that, and it came to life through, of course, identity and logo, but also brand experience. How does the brand move? How does it operate? How do people interact with it throughout, every channel, within their ecosystem, and not just external comms, but even internal. It became like a rally cry for their own employees, which was really exciting. So we helped them move forward and I think find themselves. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And I think we're really successful. It's showing proof, in the numbers already. So we're excited.
That's really cool. Coming up on 100 years, that's a big landmark for any business. That's massive. And so I guess take me through like how this redesign kind of came to be in terms of like the creative elements of it. Because it, in a lot of ways, is a throwback to the original logo and some of the original branding, but it still feels a little fresh. It still feels new. It doesn't feel like you just copy pasted from the original back to the new. So kind of take me through the thinking of that.
I'm glad you noticed that because that was a big part of this, right? And it goes to a little bit of like the briefing, what you just asked me of like, what did they come to you for? And as I had mentioned, it was dusting off what was originally there that was, I think, really beneficial to their brand, and that was comfort. We came up with brand positioning, obviously, enhanced their brand purpose, looked at their values, the traditional methods of looking at the core of a brand, and came up with a persona that often is usually a person. We thought, well, Lazy Boy's not a person. It's a place. It's a sense of place. And we came up with this notion of the place, like when you sit down, it's like, it was like, and it became our North Star for everything that we did, every choice we made in the brand, from the logo mark to the experience to the expression across their entire ecosystem. And so ultimately, every choice we made needed to ladder up to that, right? And so it was vital that, like, no matter what we crafted, no matter what we created, signified that comfort and do it in a modern way that I could think could be relevant for today, that felt distinct in the category, that pushed ourselves outside of what others are doing. But more importantly, revisit some of the elements you had in your past that were working. And like, how do we channel that? Because there was beauty in their brand in the beginning. That's what I think helped them stand up for 100 years. So we just needed to dust some things off and bring it back, and I think reshape it for today.
I love that comment about the place, because to me, when I think of Lazy Boy just as a brand without the logo, like I think of a couch. I think of a chair. I mean, there was a Lazy Boy dealership near my house for ages. I'm used to seeing that brand places, and that, when I hear someone has a Lazy Boy, like I know it's going to be a comfortable chair. It's something you want to sit in. It's something you want to be comfortable in.
It felt very sensorial to us, which is what we wanted. How can the brand have all these like tentacles that make you feel something and not just expect it in the physical realm? Like, what does emotional comfort feel like? What does it even smell like? What does it feel like? Like physical touch. And like, it became this operating system for us and how we crafted experiences for the brand. I mean, think digital. Like, their website was kind of a hot mess. It wasn't easy to choose products and to source, the different aspects of the product. And so we decided, well, even that experience should feel and calming and easy. So now you can kind of start to see how that, brand, the core, the truth of what they represent and that persona reflects itself through everything they do and everything we created. It was pretty magical.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about working with a brand like this is you're not just talking about ads and a brand and maybe slapping the logo on a few items. Like, this can have its branding like literally embedded in the final product itself.
Yes. I mean, this became the soul of everything they make, everything they say, everything they do, every action they take. And so right down to product design and curation and creation, right down to even like how their, employees interact with one another with ease and calm, and, how you're greeted at a store should feel welcoming and calming and easy every moment of their brand. And that's when you got something good. It was a hard sell when I said we had to make some bold moves, and why the relationship was key, because it mattered, because we had to sell them on more, that this was more than just a logo. And not that a logo isn't important, but it's one element of a bigger, I think, initiative that we knew we could help them solve. Right. And so I love that it became everything for their brand.
Yeah. That's what you really want out of a good brand, is for it to carry through to everything that you create, everything that you're doing, everything that you're saying. If it doesn't, then you've failed, I think, in some way to really communicate a good brand. The creative elements here, obviously the color palette, very relaxing. I personally like the color palette a lot. It very much is my sensibilities as a millennial male. The color palette, the font, like, take me through like how you kind of like decided on that. Was that just gut instinct, research? Like, how did that come about?
It was a few things. I think traditionally aesthetics can become subjective. What one person says is comforting is maybe not to another. And so to back that up, we do a lot of research on the back end, right? We do excavating, as I call it. We do dig far and wide into the brand's heritage and history, and what elements such as type and color can maybe still resonate today. What other brands are doing, to ensure that we're carving out something that feels distinct and ownable. And so that helps us lead to, if you will, like a bucket that not only does those things, but like, now what's the calming elements within that kind of silo that we've defined, right? And so from there, it's got to do those things. It's got to feel modern. It's got to feel ownable and distinct. And maybe there's a connection to the brand or the brand's history. And that, I think, really points us into an area that makes sense, like it or not, right? And ensures that it exudes those moments of calm. And so we hit on it. And I love that you said that, like, as a masculine male, I love it. That's intentional too, of like, we got to breach, I think historically Lazy Boy was often seen as like a masculine, old, grandpa's chair kind of thing. And like, which is fair. And like, and there's those moments still matter in the brand and it still exists. But like, how can we expand that and create a palette that felt, I think, a little bit more conscientious of both male and feminine moments. And so just finding something that bridges that and is inclusive was really important for us too. So
I think bridging the past and trying to keep things modern is always one of the keys with a long-standing brand. You gotta have those elements of we're still around, we still exist. I mean, to be honest, I don't like the old logo.
And, I think it did maybe at the moment, but it did what they wanted. It doesn't mean it was what was right. But when we looked at it, when we looked at the logo and we looked at the color, and you think of Calm, it didn't do any of those things for us, right? It was corporate blue, which felt cold and sterile. The logo was sharp and hard-edged and, again, kind of corporate-y, not distinct. The job really kind of was easy, right? Like, you could only go up, but we wanted to do intentionally and very thoughtfully, so.
Because that logo just feels like one of the quintessential, like, early 2000s logos.
It very much was, yeah.
Very much in that vein of, like, just that sharp styling and it just like a commercial, like, we're going for the big box stores.
Lacked the soul, though, and so we brought it back.
I'm glad you did. So what are some ways that you brought back the soul and brought back maybe some interesting activations or engagements to this project?
Oh, we've done some really great work. Hopefully I don't trip it up because I was in and out of some of these moments, but I have enough to be dangerous knowledge of it. Is we really celebrated earned activations early on, and it enabled us to create some teas, right, to tee up this new brand work. And so we are kind of already starting to embed in culture this notion of comfort is coming back to Lazy Boy. And so we created this. There's a few things, but I'll hit on the Recliner. So yes, a name in itself. And we all are aware of the iconic Recliner that Lazy Boy is notoriously known for. Well, we thought, hey, like, let's give moments to people. Let's celebrate this notion of, in culture at the moment, it was very kind of big, of what was once FOMO now became JOMO, the joy of missing out. Like, people are like, can I just like Netflix binge tonight and get a pizza? I don't want to go out to those plans I originally signed up for. I just don't want to do it. I want to hug my dog, I want to have a good time at home. So we created the Recliner. So it was an AI activated. You could literally, what it would do is it would you could use your phone, and when you reclined in the chair, it would send actual messages, responses to your friends or whom it may you desire, that provides these automated declined messages that were kind of just funny. It built character into the brand too. Lazy Boy is like, we try not to take ourselves too seriously too at the same time, like there's kind of a quirk to us and a funness. And so it hit on like all those notes, and it became a little teaser of like, we celebrate comfort and it is acceptable to be comfortable and to decline chaos in life and just rest. So it was a cool moment. And that was, I think, one great, additional opportunity, and if you will call it activation, that enabled us to, I think, spark the soul of the brand that we were going for beyond just identity, but through like experience.
That's really neat. So is that like an app I could go get on the App Store right now?
In the moment it was, and it was a kind of a moment in time and to celebrate this new branding initiatives and so forth. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love activations like that where you get, people going, what the heck is this?
Yeah, it had that beat. That in itself draws attention, it like earns attention of just like, what is going on here? Can I get that chair? And we delivered some to people too, like whoever submitted the best messages, we provided them with a Lazy Boy as well. So it was like a bonus, right? Who doesn't want that? So yeah, it was kind of a win-win for a lot of folks, including obviously the brand.
Yeah, I feel like I missed out on that campaign now. I'm very sad to have missed it. But that's cool. That's also a way, I think that was using AI. Is that correct?
We used AI and a lot of other techie things that my brain can't comprehend so much. But hey, the end result was pretty fantastic. So
yeah, so like as you created this change, did you run up against any pushback or anybody being resistant to the change? Because like we've had this last logo since 2003 and
it was the logo out of all the things, because it's everywhere. And it takes a lot of money, as we know, a lot of dollar bills to put that logo on exterior signage and every bit of furniture. And in a time right now where like brands have launched and it didn't always go so well, think Crate and Barrel, recent Jaguar, like they had a lot of pushback. People missed like the original. They had, an emotional attachment to it. And so it was top of mind of like, how do we ensure that when we launch this logo, we are doing it right? It is the right move. We still can continue with the people that are loyal to us and love our brand, but bring in net new. So it was nerve-wracking. That's again why the relationship was so powerful. Like we talked through it together, found solutions together. It worked out eons, enabling us to, I think, feel confident in launching it and putting it out there in the world. So we'll see. So far, so good.
That's good. I mean, the good thing is you weren't doing anything that was like, at least by most people's broad perception, would not be considered political. And I think like things like Cracker Barrel.
It's a global brand too, and so like how does that every little detail that we did work culturally across the globe? And so everything was just, like I said, very intentional and thoughtful and a little nerve-wracking. But you're not doing something right if you're not scared. I mean, that's what everyone says, and I believe it.
So as we look at this, what have been some things, like what have been the results of this campaign so far? Want to launch a podcast without the hassle? HumblePod makes podcasting easy. From concept to launch, we'll help you create a professional, engaging show. Already have a podcast? We handle editing, show notes, transcriptions, and even video production, so you can focus on your content. With our tailored services, you get high-quality production, seamless publishing, and expert support at every step. Whether you're starting fresh or leveling up, HumblePod ensures your podcast sounds amazing and reaches the right audience. Visit humblepod.com to get started today.
I wish I had the numbers in front of me, Chris. But I do know that stock shares have gone up, which is great. That's always a good indicator of a successful brand. Gotten more people in stores, right? And so I think that's the biggest, that was number one success metrics for us of like, how do we ensure we don't lose fans and we gain more? And so the more people that we could get, the more foot traffic we could get, whether it was offline or online, in store or digitally, we knew that we were doing something good. And we did. And so the numbers are up, which to me is the number one success. That's all we can ask for, to continue that brand loyalty, not lose that loyalty. So win-win. We did. And we're still doing.
That's always a good result when you've got things going the right way and people are happy.
It worked. I'm like, look at that. See, the odd place is still living with me. It worked.
Well, that's great. So what have you personally learned through this project? What would you say this was a takeaway for me? This is something that I know I will always carry with me as a result of this campaign.
Look at this. We keep going back to relationships. That was the greatest learning for me, was how important it is to have that backbone when doing something so risky, so new, and for a brand that has such history. Was like, how do I ensure that we're holding hands? We're doing it together. We're doing the dance, and you need a party to do that. And so I know it seems like I'm on a repeat, but I think that was the biggest learning.
No, I would agree. I mean, personal relationships are really key. Even in my own business right now, I'm finding that like I chose to go to New York City and visit some clients and even try to make inroads with new relationships with people at a conference. And like every time I go, I'm reminded, oh yeah, this is why I get out and meet people, because if I didn't, people wouldn't know who we are. And I wouldn't have that trust because they don't know me. They just know me online.
Amen. Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. Like, just like that interaction. And also, and this may seem like a cliche response, but it's just another reinforcement of it, of like, do your research. Do some digging. We went to the corporate headquarters. We went through many different retail spaces. We talked to people. We read the books. Lazy Boy's got a book, which is great. That's when you know you're iconic, right? We sat in the furniture. We experimented with it. And like, you really have to embed yourself in where they've been to know where you're going. I think everyone says that, and it's true. And we did that, and we do that every time. And so I think it just reinforces, because we did so, I think, to an extreme this time, reinforces, I think, the benefit of that. It paid off tremendously.
As we talk about the future, as we look towards the future now, kind of stepping away from just the Lazy Boy campaign and maybe bringing in some of your experience from having worked on that, what is top of mind as you look at the future, as you've been through this project? I know some AI was used and technology was used, but what do you kind of see as like the future of branding and kind of where we're at right now?
I love that question. It's something I'm like really digging into right now. The world has shifted. Brands are demanding more and more today than they were yesterday. It's not about the campaign anymore. But it's and so it's about every experience of the brand and what is that system behind it? What is that operating system that enables brands to show up in all these new spaces and places? Back in the day, it was the broadcast spot. The digital didn't exist, social didn't exist, and maybe you ran a few print pieces. But now it shows up in retail, it shows up online, it shows up in social, it shows up with influencers, earned activations like the Recliner. It's everywhere, and if it's these tentacles are just moving around, and if you don't have a system in the background that enables these experiences to show up consistently, on brand, and distinctly, all these Lees, distinctly, uniquely, consistently. If you don't have that, you're just going to eventually become fragmented. You're going to lose the brand trust. People are not going to recognize you in all these moments, and so it just becomes vital to give, if you will, that playbook, right? Like that inside, the intel inside, as they always say. One of my coworkers always says that, right? Like that enables the brands. It makes it easy. I know what to do in these moments. I know how the brand needs to behave. I know how it needs to act. And design is really that thinking behind it that ensures we're governing it to ensure that things show up accurately. And so I think brand and design is becoming more and more important in just marketing in general than it ever has before, to ensure that as this world becomes more chaotic, there's a system to it. And I think Lazy Boy is a prime example of that, right? And as I always mentioned, it became more than a logo. It became, how is this brand showing up through every unique lens and how people interact with it in every different space and place? Well, we created that system, right? We didn't just create a logo. We created the system. We talked about how the brand needs to feel, how it even needs to sound. We even came up with a branded scent for when people walk into the spaces. Like, how should it smell? It's bonkers. How does that logo move? How do we animate elements? What does our photography look like? How do our products show up? So yeah, design. Lead by design is my motto for this year. So thank you for that question. Yeah, I'm really passionate about it, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, no, that's really neat. And I think you bring up a good point too, because like, as I look at like what's going on in AI right now, everybody's like, how do we know if something's real or not? And when it comes to a brand, it really comes down to their branding. It's their digital. It comes
down to the soul. What is the heart inside?
Exactly.
I love AI. First of all, I'm all for it. But I think what it needs most still is that heart, that humanity, that attention to detail. Design does so well at that, right? Like design provides the soul to the tech behind AI, and all the more reason to lead by design today than ever before. So it helps us move at quicker speeds, which I love. My ADHD needs it in life. It helps me, I think, look down different avenues that maybe I would have never have gotten to at the time we usually have, and crack unique and different codes. It helps me wear more hats. But at the end of the day, it still needs my brain power, but more importantly, my soul and my heart to ensure the brand is intact and crafted intentionally.
And I mean, I think at the end of the day too, like that's what what I have found and observed over the last year has been this push and pull between the marketing agencies wanting to push AI because it saves us time and it makes things easier and accelerates things. And then the actual consumer going, we don't want it to look like at least we don't want it to think or know it's AI.
They want authentic.
They want authenticity. Yeah.
That still takes crafting and the human quality behind it, which is great. And we need both. And so it's exciting. It's an interesting time. And to see how people, leverage it uniquely is interesting always still. So only the future will tell.
Yeah. We will find out in a year or so where we're at. It's a fascinating topic for sure.
So I could talk about that for days. Yeah, we'll have to get a beer because I could go on and on. But it's exciting. I'm excited about the tools. And what's funny too is like I think get to places that I wouldn't have gotten before because of the speed. I can use it so much for research and I get there faster. I can use it for like just spitting out unique different concepts or words or ideas so I can get to something better quicker. That's to me is what I think is special. And I hope people use it because I think we'll start to see something really special and different in the world because of that. I hope. I hope.
There's fringes of like, I've spent a lot of time paying attention to like what's happening in the AI media world. So like what's happening with video, what's happening with audio. My benchmark for the last few years has been the Balenciaga videos, the AI Balenciaga videos. I don't know if you've ever seen these. They did a Harry Potter one that's really famous.
Yeah, I think I know it. I think I'm with you. They're literally structuring like small trailers that are insane. Yeah.
Yeah, they look like photo shoots and they're all like buffed up.
It's got people all buzzed up because they're like, oh my God, is it going to take all these jobs or I don't know.
But the guy who did like the original viral Balenciaga video 3 years ago just released a new version of the Harry Potter Balenciaga video and it's like a movie.
I know, it's crazy.
It's insane and it's still not there. But I'll include some links to that for people that want to see it because that's just a fascinating case study for me. But yeah, it's wild where we're getting to.
Changing the world.
It is. It is. So as far as brands go, I always like to wrap with this question, and that is, what brand do you admire the most right now?
Oh, boy. I knew this question was coming, and I hate this question purely because I have so many different loves of so many brands. I don't have one. It's like the age-old question. What's your favorite movie? But what I really get excited about is not necessarily products. You could ask me and I'd be like, oh, of course, Nike and Apple, and they're all doing great things, Target, But what I really get excited is when people are able to take the philosophy of branding and apply it to like experiences or people. Or I'm a big sports fan. Like, how does that get operationalized into fandom and, sports experiences? You think of the likes of like Taylor Swift, talk about a genius brand, like her or not. When you look at every moment and experience of her brand has been thoughtfully curated and crafted, right down to like the red lipstick, and how it connects and symbolizes her Red album. And it became a whole era. And it's bonkers to me. And right down to stage setting and her shows and how it all kind of becomes this one collective system is phenomenal. You think of Michael Jackson, love him or hate him. Like, I'm going to go there, though, like iconic brand, right? Like, he had an iconic, distinct voice. He had an iconic, distinct way he moved, which was his dancing and his behaviors. Well, those were something to be noted about. He had places that were magical, Neverland. Some might not say magical now, but I don't know. That's always really interesting to me. Like, right? Like, how do you codify yourself as a brand versus like applied to products, which are just traditional methods? So you look at, I'm a big Vikings fan, Skull Vikes, Minnesota here. If you go to a game and you sit in the stadium, every experience is so thoughtful from the moment you enter the plaza, the events and activations that are happening that celebrate the Scandinavian roots, the Vikings, coming over from Norway, how it applies to some crazy experiences when you're in the stadium. They actually have snow falling to mimic kind of the cold Arctic nature of Scandinavia. They got flames and dragons and the videos they make and their social content. It's pretty dope. It's kind of cool to see it come to life. So like I said, I'm really into brands that have that, I think, collective, you could call it brand world or whatever you want to call it, but like every facet of their brand shows up really distinctly and uniquely, and everything is considered. So
yeah, that attention to detail just always blows me away. Yeah, I see it a lot in like I'm big into F1 right now, so like Formula One does a really good job with that kind of attention to detail.
Recently, they're really kind of taken off. So
yeah, awesome. DQ, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I'd love to come back someday. It's been a good time.
Open invitation. We'll make sure it happens. Where can people connect with you? Where can they learn more about Colle McVoy?
Oh, ColleMcVoy.com. We have a great social channel with a great team that puts great funny content on there where you can learn more about us. I can provide you a URL, direct link to some of my channels if people want to learn more or interact with me. But yeah, that's the gist. I'm around and available. I love to talk. I'm a talker. I'm a chatty Cathy, and I love design. So hit me up.
Well, we'll do. All righty. Well, DQ, thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, best of luck, bud. This was great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for checking out this episode of We Built This Brand. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your player of choice. You can also keep up with the podcast on WeBuiltThisBrand.com. If you like this episode, please give the podcast a 5-star review and make sure to tell all your friends about it so we can continue to build this brand.